Welcome to Gentle Restorative. My name is Sandra, and I would love for you to just close your eyes wherever you're at. You don't even have to change your position. You don't have to sit up if you were laying down. Just close your eyes. Take a slow, deep breath in. Hold it. Softly let it go. And I just want you to think about that breath for a moment. And this is what I'm looking for you to analyze. When someone says to you, take a deep breath, what does that breath look like? What does it feel like? Do you typically just gulp in air through the mouth, hold it and then explode? Do you listen to what you're told to do? Do you slowly fill the lungs? What do you typically do? If I'm not sitting in front of you and telling you, hey, I want you to breathe through the nose, or I want you to do it slowly, or I want you to fill the lungs, what does it feel like? So take a deep breath. Now, think about what you just did. Think about how you chose to inhale, how you chose to exhale. So what if I said to you, if you took that inhale through the nose, what if I said, well, it was supposed to be inhaled through the mouth? And if you breathed in slowly, what if I said, well, you were supposed to breathe in quickly? And if you said, well, I inhaled and I exhaled, and I said, but you were supposed to hold your breath. I want you to think about that word, supposed to. That word, maybe phrase, if you will, is our theme for today. I want you to also think about for a moment before we get to our intention. Have you found yourself saying lately, and lately could refer to the past week or two as well, things were supposed to be like this. I was supposed to spend the holidays with so-and-so. I was supposed to be somewhere else. I think you're getting my drift. Go ahead, grab onto one of those thoughts. I know you said one of them. And what I've decided my rebuttal is going to be to your thought is, really, were you supposed to? So we're going to dissect that. All right, inhale the arms up however you want to. Exhale to the heart. Close your eyes, set your intention for your practice. And as you let the hands drift back down, palms to the knees, so we can find our seated cat-cow when you're ready. So I don't believe for a minute, not one of you could think of an answer to, yeah, I said I was supposed to, right? We all had those thoughts. In fact, we probably all had a lot of those thoughts. And so a few days ago, that's where my mind was. It was, this is not how I saw things occurring. This is not how I thought life was going to be. It was supposed to be like this, and this is supposed to happen in this order. And, really, I could suffice it to say that this year hasn't gone the way any of us planned, dreamed, or hoped for. And that's not to say all of it went that way. I'm sure a lot of us did have things happen that we thought were going to happen in exactly maybe the way we planned for them. But certainly, I am certain, I'm so certain, not everything, right? All right, give me one more. And then when you rise up, really lengthen through the low back. Draw the stomach in slightly. Close your eyes here. The truth of the matter is that everything that we had thought, hoped for, planned, it could not possibly have gone the way we thought, because it got overshadowed by the consequences of the pandemic and its snowballing effect, right? So I want you just to pause for a moment. I want you to be grateful for the things that did go through the way you thought they were, the things you had started planning. And but I want you to think outside the box a little bit. And what I mean is, let's say your intention for the year had been kick back and relax more, but you had a certain thought in mind, and maybe that was on a beach and that didn't happen. But gratitude for the fact that you probably did have a lot of time to kick back and relax more, right? So I want you to find the positive, pull it into your heart, hold it there. And so I started thinking about how much more time I've been able to spend with my kids, and how much more time we have spent playing trivia. And I know a couple of my yogis will be thrilled to know I finally can remember the sides of a ship now. I used to pass on that question all the time. And so that's what kind of came to my mind. Go ahead, open your eyes. If you're not sitting, will you please sit? We're going to take that right leg off to the side, if that is okay with the right knee, and if it's okay with the left hip. So if it's not, choose however you want to be. All right, I'm just closing the eyes for a moment. I just want to feel this. I want you to notice how you're tipped into the left sit bone. You might even take the right hand, run it down the shin of the right leg. I want you to feel how that right foot is situated. So is that ankle and foot flared out to the side like a frog, or is there a way we can get the top of that foot down towards the earth? And if that's not going to work for you, that's all right. I'm going to take both my hands then to the left. I'm going to sit up. I'm turning my heart to the left, and I'm gently going to walk the hands out in front of me. So whatever that means to you, it might mean we're just reaching through the arms, straightening out the elbows. It might mean you're coming down onto your forearms. For some of you, you might come all the way down to the earth. Doesn't matter. I leave that up to you. So I want you to think about, you pick up this book somebody recommended, and it's fictional, and you start reading, and it's got a really great theme. It just sucks you in. The characters are amazing, and you like where the story is headed. And then there's a turn of events, and you stop, and you're like, wait, that wasn't supposed to happen, right? Well, in your mind, it wasn't supposed to happen. However, the book is written, let's just say, in old-fashioned ink. The author penned it that way. So in truth, it was supposed to happen, right? It was supposed to take that turn of events. You might not have thought so, and you might not have agreed with it, but that is what was supposed to happen. Go ahead, come on back up. I'm just going to re-straighten the core, hands to the earth in front of you, and walk forward into a fold. Again, whatever that means to you. So what if we thought about our lives for a moment as already being written in stone? Maybe it's kind of like the Akashic records, maybe the Akashic records don't stop where you are in present time. Maybe everything's already written moving forward. And so what you think is not supposed to happen is because that's what your mind is telling you. It actually is exactly how it's supposed to happen. Go ahead, make your way back up. Switch the legs. So again, I want you to see if you can get the top of that left foot to the earth. If you can't, I'm not worried about it. I want you to close your eyes and feel how you are tipping heavily into the right sit bone and hip. Make sure this is okay. We're going to sit up tall, turn to the right, hands to the earth. And again, walk the hands forward to find where you would like your fold to be this morning. So I referenced a couple days ago, my mind is going through these thoughts of this was supposed to occur, this shouldn't be happening this way, this person should be here, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden I stopped and this new thought popped into my head. And the new thought was, this is exactly what was supposed to have happened. Exactly. Now, I realized, and I thought about this when I was working through this theme, some people are not ready to hear that and are going to be upset with me for saying that. That's okay. Just kind of feel that. And I want you to feel why that's upsetting and what that taps into. I generally think that when we get upset by a comment like that, or Patanjali's comments about we create our own suffering, it's because we really do not want to think that A, things are supposed to be quote unquote bad, or B, that we are to blame for our current situation, our own personal, situation. And so I don't know, maybe it rustles up a little bit of the ego, or just gets our head tripping over this thought of, listen, I wouldn't have created this if I didn't want this, right? And so just think about that. If you don't like what I said, let it sit with you and really tap into why. You can jump to being upset with me and close off. And that is a defense mechanism that I can't stop you from having. I would just suggest thinking about it. Of course, there's many parts of this pandemic I don't want in my current situation either. However, when you stop to think about this idea that maybe things are exactly the way they are meant to be, don't you kind of release your suffering, your angst? I mean, what else are you going to do? This is how it is supposed to be. So now what do we do? Well, I know what you're going to do. You're going to walk your way back up to center, straighten out the upper body, bring the hands to the earth, and now take a fold coming forward. So if our current situation is exactly how it is supposed to be, and I'm not disputing, I'm not taking out elements of faith and beliefs in higher powers and fate versus not. I'm none of that. I'm just saying, I stop and I think about all of the pictures I've seen of long food lines and of people who have lost their jobs. And then I think about the people who can't find new jobs. And I started thinking about, all the kids doing e-learning and then all the plummeting college GPAs. And I think about that age bracket and then their lack of being able to date because that's no longer a safe social activity. I think about the people, young and old, who have died this year and the people they've left behind, their families. I stop to think about how the healthcare workers must be so thoroughly exhausted, physically, but more so mentally. I think about, actually, from a personal experience, how hard it is to get a non-COVID sick person to receive health care because it's all backed up. I think about all the people, go ahead, make your way back up, who are having mental health issues, whether it be isolation, fear, anxiety, depression, And I think about that because I've gone through all those emotions in this past 9 months as well. Go ahead, free that leg that's behind you. Let's open the legs out into a V. And so, of course, none of us would choose this. None of us would plan it this way for anybody, for any strangers. But being handed, being dealt the hand of cards that we've been given, that's what we have to work with, right? Of course, for playing cards, we'd want a royal flush. We're not going to pick, a 2 and a 3 that are the closest numbers together in our hand. So we work with what we're dealt with. And I want you just to think about that, and think about that on the mat too. If any parts of the body are not happy today, work with what you have. We're going to sit up tall right here. Flex the feet, close your eyes. Gently push the backs of the thighs down towards the earth. I don't want you to hyperextend the knees though, so think about that. All right, inhale the arms up. Right hand grabs the left wrist, pulls you to the right. And then from here, I'm going to let the right hand drop down because I feel like I want support. Open up that top shoulder. Perhaps you can come a little lower here. And then slowly make your way back up. Inhale, both arms up. Exhale to the heart. Close your eyes. Inhale, both arms up. Left hand's grabbing the right wrist, pulling you to the left. And then once you get to your stopping point, release that left arm. So it's help holding you up. Breathe here. I think I said that wrong. It's helping to hold you up. It's not going to help to holding you up. And then maybe you can drop a little lower. When you're ready, come back to center. Release the arm. Inhale both arms. Exhale to the heart. In your mind's eye, I want you to picture how you like a supported restorative child's pose best, because that's where we're going. And when you're ready, go ahead, draw the legs in, and let's find Balasana. So grab whatever props you want. If you don't have any props, there's nothing to even think about. Just pop on down into the pose. Make sure you're comfortable, because I gave you full permission to choose this pose the way you want it to be. And then close your eyes. So while you're here with your eyes closed and you're feeling blissful and content, I want you to think about some of those things that you thought should be different. Let's say in the past, I don't know, week, or something really stands out to you from further back. That's fine. I want you to grab onto that thought, but then I want you to feel acceptance, that it was okay for it not to be that way. Somehow you're going to have to factor in and honor your own belief system, and let this idea settle in that things happened the way they were going to happen, or how they should be. That word "supposed to" is really interesting. I wrote down, I want to get to it for you real quick. Listen to the definition of the word "supposed." Generally assumed or believed to be the case, but not necessarily so. So a couple of the synonyms are alleged and presumed. Are you starting to head with me where I'm going? Some of the antonyms: actual, known, real, true, factual, absolute, undisputed. So you see, when we say something was supposed to happen or supposed to be the way we thought it was, there's no ground to that. That's something we made up in our head. It's a vision, right? Maybe I was supposed to be 5'4" instead of 5'2", but guess what? I am not, because both my parents are short. So it's just an idea that perhaps I might have had in my head, right? But it's not based in truth. So when you start thinking about, these family members were supposed to be with me for the holidays, I want you to follow up with, were they? Because something else had to have occurred from this change. You experienced a new tradition. You maybe found more quality time with whoever you were with, or you had time to reflect if you were on your own. And maybe those people who you thought were supposed to be at your house also embraced and enjoyed something they wouldn't have normally, because we've switched things up a little bit. So I guess I just want you to think about, well, first of all, I want you to turn your head to the other side in child's pose. I want you to think about, next time you say, I was supposed to do this, I was supposed to be here, they were supposed to be there, this was supposed to occur, so-and-so is supposed to be doing this. I want you to follow that up with, is that true? I mean, even if you're fighting with me in your head, well, I really was supposed to be in Hawaii. I had plane tickets. That doesn't mean you were there. You hadn't gotten there yet. I'm just saying, maybe that isn't what was supposed to have occurred at all. So I need you to look for the gratitude behind not being where you thought you should be. Something else happened, something good, and I need you to find that. I can't answer that for you. All right, how you doing there in Balasana? See, you were supposed to answer me, but I can't hear you because that's in my head, right? I'm making up your responses. I imagined half of you said, this is awesome, don't make us move. And the other half are like, yeah, I'm ready to move on. So I'll just go ahead and choose. Take a deep breath in, let it go. And then let's slowly go ahead and make our way up. We'll set any props aside and pop right on up into table. So from here, we're going to sway the hips from side to side. When your hips go in one direction, that's an inhale. When they go in the other direction, that's an exhale. Slow the breath, slow the movement. And then come back to center. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. Come back to cow. We're going to hold it right here, so feel comfortable to breathe. Tuck the toes. Keep that gentle arch in your low back and slowly lift to dog. So I want you to keep the knees bent for quite a while. Maybe even they stay bent as you push the hips back. And then we'll slowly let the legs explore the pose by straightening and walking them out. Perfect. Take that right foot. Let's bring it forward between the hands for a nice low lunge. So that means the back leg goes down. Perfect. If you have blocks, you might want to use them so you can lift the heart up a little bit more. If you do not have blocks, fingertips to the earth, or you could even bring your hands up on that front thigh so that you feel supported. I'm going to just sink here, lift the heart, pull the head back slightly. I'm going to close my eyes. Give me 3 thoughtful, deep breaths. When you finish that last exhale, I'm going to go ahead and move my blocks. Bring my hands back to the earth. So as I slowly pull the hips back, that right leg is going to come through and all the way out behind me, parallel to the earth. Make sure the hips are level, draw the stomach in. If you want to, left arm moves forward for cat balance. And then we're going to take that left arm, assuming you lifted it. If you didn't, keep it on the ground, that's fine. Left arm opens out to the left side, straight out from the shoulder. And then the back of the left hand's coming around to rest on your low back or sacrum. So if you still have the left hand down and you want to join us now, you can bring that hand up behind your back. And here, I'm just gently opening up that left shoulder. And if you need to bring that right knee back down, that's okay. Breathe. Perfect. Exhale. Everything finds the earth again. Both hands, both knees. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. Inhale, cow. Tuck the toes. Exhale, lift the hips first. Keep the knees bent. Push the hips back towards dog, and then slowly see where the legs want to go. That left foot's coming forward for our low lunge. So set the back knee down. You can keep the back foot tucked or untucked. Lift the heart. So grab the blocks again if you have them. It makes this easier to feel like you're elevating up through the crown chakra. Close your eyes. Three slow breaths. And when you finish that last one, set your blocks aside. That's so we can be stable right on the earth. I'm going to pull my hips back to get my left leg straight out behind me. Level out the hips. Lift the stomach. If you want to, right arm forward. And then take the right arm straight out to your side, right up from the shoulder. And then the back of the right hand to rest on the sacrum or low back, and then gently peel open that right shoulder. And if you need to set the left foot or knee down, go ahead. Inhale. Exhale, release hands and knees to the earth. Bring the legs in towards each other. Push back into embryo. Hands reach behind you. From here, we're going to rise back up. I want you to grab your bolster. If you don't have a bolster, anything else that you could put under the hips would do. And then come on forward, all the way down under your stomach. Close your eyes when you get here. Well, I'm stumbling over words. I hope that you found the definition and synonyms and antonyms of supposed to be eye-opening, Because we really do use that word as if it were supposed to be true, right? My Amazon package was supposed to get here yesterday. Was it? I don't know. Maybe they told you that, they were guessing, but is that really when it was supposed to come? No, it's going to come when it gets there. Remember, supposed is not based in truth or fact. So while you're in this restorative pose, I'm going to attempt to stop talking because I want you to think about acceptance. Let all this soak in and be okay with this idea of maybe we're generating these ideas of what we think should come next and how they're all based perhaps in fiction. Take a deep breath in. Let it go. And then slowly get your hands near the ribs in front of that bolster just so you can get some support to push yourself back up. And then just sit down for a moment because we're looking for some props here. All right. If you have a blanket, go ahead and grab it. I already kind of folded mine the way we wanted, although it looks like I pushed it aside and it unfolded. Long noodle. That will go behind me. So when you're ready, I'll give you a moment to get your blanket all set up. If you don't have a blanket, don't worry about it. You get to lay down right now then on your back. All right. Once we have that out behind us, go ahead and sit up on the edge. Slowly roll the spine down on top of that blanket. Oh, it feels good. And then we're going to keep the knees bent, feet hip distance apart. And you can just gently let your hips rock side to side. So you can kind of feel yourself catching your balance on that blanket. And then I'm going to turn my palms down to the earth. That will help me grip a little bit for some support. I'm going to take the outer right ankle up on top of that left thigh. Now, you might notice immediately how this is going to cause you to tip to the right. So let's pull that left foot in a little closer. Get onto the toes of that foot if you can to support you so that we can kind of find our balance on our own. You might be able to lift that left foot off the ground. That's why your hands are palms down. And we'll just hold it right here. Slowly set the left foot down. Switch out the legs carefully. Notice, once we take that other leg, the left one up on top, it's the knee going wide that makes us feel like we're going to tip off. So go ahead and adjust that right foot or maybe lift it off the ground so you're more in control. So remember I was thinking about this, sorry, while you were in your last restorative pose about Patanjali saying that we create our own suffering. When you say something was supposed to happen and it doesn't, what feeling comes next? Go ahead, set the feet back down. Generally sadness, right? It was supposed to happen, it didn't, now I feel sad. If I wasn't working on suppositions in the first place, I wouldn't have expectations of that. If you have any blanket left behind your head, you can roll it back underneath you to elevate the head more if you like. If you're happy where you are, stay there. It's easier for me to feel like I'm looking up at the camera and at you guys if I lift my head a little. All right, so from here, I'm going to bring both knees in. I still have my arms on the ground. You can have your palms open or closed. Just looking for my balance. Just going to hold it right here. Close your eyes. And then we'll see about maybe lifting the arms to hug the knees in. You're going to have to go unbelievably slow so you don't tip over. What do you think about legs up the imaginary wall from right here? Go slow. It's okay if you fall over. This pose isn't supposed to be one way or the other. Ooh, I'm getting wobbly. If you need to bring your hands back down to guide you and support you, you can. If you want to try to hang on behind the thighs, you can. We don't have far to fall to the ground, so that's good. And you know what? If you tipped over once or twice or 3 times, I hope you're having fun with the pose and relocating your balance. All right, let's slowly bring the knees back in. Set the feet down on the earth. Close your eyes. Let the knees fall in to hold each other up. So I also was thinking of this as a more personal example. So my son is supposed to be, right, on a Big Ten campus. And I see on the Facebook pages for this particular school, a lot of the parents complaining and lamenting, my child is supposed to be on campus. My child is supposed to be having this college experience. And I keep thinking, why? Because that's what we think the norm is, because that's what we did. If they were supposed to be there, they'd be there, right? It's this acceptance of what is without questioning, I guess, so much. I hope that makes sense. When I think about my son is supposed to be there in an apartment I'm paying over $900 a month for, that brings me suffering, right? It's just like, I'm tossing money aside and it's not even being used. That creates my suffering when I take my thought process there. So I choose to go forward with the thought that, no, he's here because this is where he should be. This is how the plan goes. My head thought, perhaps, he should be on a campus in this apartment that I'm paying for. That doesn't mean I'm right. Remember that definition of supposed, it's not based in fact. So I'm wrong. Guess what? I'm wrong. This is where I want you to take on the acceptance, because when I linger in that thought of, oh my gosh, that apartment sits empty, I am bummed out, right? Now I'm choosing my suffering because I took my mind there. I hope this is all making sense. In a book called Myths Are Real, Reality is a Myth, Adwish Singh wrote, we must know what actually makes us happy rather than what should make us happy. The only way to know the truth is to experiment with what is supposed to bring us happiness and then see the results on ourselves. So I want to take that to the yoga mat. Right? We've all heard yoga is supposed to make you happy, but have you ever gone into a class and just been like, you came out and you're like, what just happened? Like, that wasn't for me, or I don't feel peaceful. I just want you to question on the mat, are you practicing ahimsa? There are some types of yoga that might not be the ones that make you happy. There's so many types of yoga. So perhaps it was an experiment of sorts. Maybe you were lucky and the very first type of yoga you went into was the one your heart resonated with and you were blissed out and you've continued with that. It just feels right. So look, what you think should happen, what you think is supposed to happen, okay, try it out and see if that's true. If you're a yogi, are you supposed to be able to do headstand? I argue the answer is no. So just think about these things. All right, give me a deep inhale, hold the breath. Let it go. I really love perching my spine on this blanket, but we're going to have to move eventually. So tip on over to one side or the other in a fetal position. Begin to make your way up. I'm going to set my blanket aside. I'm going to look for the bolster again. That's going to go horizontally across about the middle of my mat. I have my left hip towards the bolster, so you're going to have to turn. And then I'm sitting up super tall, and I'm going to come into a supported side bend. And I really want you to place your arms and legs how you would like them to be. So play around, switch your positions a few times. And when you get comfortable, the mantra I'd like you to try playing through your head is, I accept what is. I accept what is. the interesting thing about, I guess, that mantra is, I tried to Google for some fabulous quotes for you about acceptance and about faith. But the second you put faith in the Google search, you're taken to religion. And I do believe that we can each have a faith that is outside of a religious conversation. And so if you start to feel uncomfortable with the word faith, I want you to use it in the reference that you have some belief system, and just to have a almost a I was going to say blind faith, but maybe that's right. A blind faith in what is, without attaching it to any religion, without attaching it to any God. We don't need to get ourselves worked up about religious aspects if we have no belief, or we have a very strong belief and we're maybe not so open to others, or just don't want to go there on the yoga mat. Does that make sense? So I want you to accept, be open to accepting that what is exactly how it's meant to be. And we move forward with that. So I'm going to give you an option here. Option A is to stay however you ended up. Option B, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of come halfway back up. You see this part of the bolster in front of me? I want it behind me so I have more bolster to roll upon. And then I'm going to take my bottom arm, the left one, reach it straight out in front of me, soften my left shoulder to the earth and then my head. And then if you get here and you want to, you can start to peel open that right arm and right shoulder. So we're ending up in kind of a unique supine and supported, but a backbendish kind of twist. So I want you to be very careful about this. And if you don't like it, come back out of it. If you feel like, well, I want to twist, but I really do not like this bolster underneath me, then come all the way up, move the bolster, and just come on down into a regular supine twist on the earth. And of course, if you took this option and now you're thinking it through that maybe it's not what you thought it should be, you could go ahead and bring that right arm back over so you're in that supported kind of fetal position. All right, wherever you're at, fabulous breath, cleansing exhale. However, it's best for you to very peacefully rise back up. And it might be as simple as just turning around to face the other direction so that your right hip is against the bolster, or you can move the whole prop around like I need to if you want. When you're ready, don't forget just to make sure you lengthen and sit up tall so that we're really just rolling that right side over the bolster. And then find the position that makes you happy. One of the other things I noticed as I was formulating my thoughts about this theme is that using the word should or supposed to, it's a habit. I frequently found myself saying in my head, it's not supposed to be this, it's supposed to be that. That doesn't even make sense. So I think maybe our homework for the week is to try to eliminate using the word supposed, or at least catch yourself when you do and question whether that is actually what you meant to say. All right, so option A is to stay where you are. Option B was to kind of come up a little bit so that you could resituate that bolster. And then take that right arm in front of you if your intention is to take the twist. And again, you don't have to stay on the bolster if this doesn't make you happy. You don't have to take the left arm around behind you. You need to make your practice exactly the way you want it to be. If that left arm is behind you, go ahead and bring it back over. When you're ready, peacefully rise back up. Go ahead, come to a happy seated position for you. We are going to use the bolster if you have one. If you don't, I'm not worried about it. I simply want to take that bolster out in front of me with the higher end underneath my chin so I can just kind of collapse and rest right here. So if you don't have a bolster, just sit up, drop the head, and I don't want you necessarily to completely slouch down, but offer some peace to the spine. Now, while you're here, take your focus to your belly. I want you to breathe into the belly so it expands out, pushes out towards the bolster. And then as you exhale, pull the stomach in. And then allow the control over the breath to slip away. We're going to gently lift the head. And if you have that bolster, you can release it. It's time to set up your space for Shavasana. However that looks in your head. That is the way it should be. I did come across this other quote. It was something like, having faith in the present makes the impossible doable. And I was thinking about that. The reason I think that's true is because when you let go of the should haves or the supposeds, it's like you've released baggage that you were carrying and dragging along behind you. And so now you have all this open energy in front of you to move forward. So as you settle into Shavasana, I really want you to have the energy of gratitude and acceptance, release, and then receptivity to moving forward. I will come back and get you when Shavasana is over. Robert Frost wrote this. When the spent sun throws up its rays on cloud and goes down, burning into the gulf below, no voice in nature is heard to cry aloud at what has happened. Birds at least must know it's the change to darkness in the sky. Murmuring something quiet in her breast, one bird begins to close a faded eye, or overtaken too far from his nest. Hurrying low above the grove, some waif swoops in just in time to his remembered tree. At most he thinks or twitters softly, safe. Now let the night be dark for all of me. Let the night be too dark for me to see into the future. Let what will be, be. And I'll leave you with the thought that if that bird that Robert Frost spoke of were to cry out, thinking the sun is supposed to stay in the sky all the time, keeping me warm, lighting my way, the bird would be sad when the sun went down, creating its own suffering. Take a deep inhale. Go ahead, release it. Bring some movement back into the hands, the fingers. And then bring the hands together just above you, rub them out, warm them up a little bit. Keep going, get them nice and warm. And then take that warmth and lay the hands across your heart. The light in me bows to the light in you. And when I'm in that place in me and you're in that place in you, then we become one. Namaste.